Walter White began his journey as an ordinary chemistry teacher and ended it by becoming Heisenberg, the ruthless baron of the drug world. What started as a simple story of securing a future turned into an uncontrollable lust for power. From the beginning to the end of the series, Walter's decisions cost the lives of many people. Some deaths were directly at the hands of Walter White, while others were the result of his decisions in a chain reaction. Let's analyze these events in detail. Please subscribe, like, and comment before proceeding with the analysis. Chapter 1. Heisenberg's Original Sin. 1. Emilio and Krazy-8. Cause of death: disputes during drug production. Walter's role: killed Emilio using phosphine gas. He then strangled Krazy-8 after a major internal conflict. These first two deaths were the beginning of Walter's transformation journey into Heisenberg. Killing Emilio was the first decision he made for his own survival. The moment of killing Krazy-8 was a moment of deep inner conflict. Walter still had his conscience, but his Heisenberg identity slowly began to emerge. Chapter 2. Family and personal destruction. 2. Jane Margolis. Cause of death: asphyxiation due to drug overdose. Walter's role: Jesse's girlfriend Jane went into shock after a drug overdose. Walter White was with her at the moment of shock. He was able to save her, but not when Jane was drowning from the drugs. Leaving her to die accelerated Jesse's downfall. But why? Walter saw Jane's death as an opportunity for his own gain. Saving her could cause him to lose control over Jesse. This grave and cold-blooded decision was one of the clearest examples of the change in Walter's view of human life. Walter's conscience continued to atrophy. Jane's death would not be Walter's first betrayal of Jesse. Walter will later cause the death of another loved one of Jesse's. 3rd. Plane crash: Wayfarer 515 and JM21. Cause of death: collision of two airplanes due to air traffic control error. Walter's role: after Jane's death, his father, Donald Margolis, began to suffer from psychological problems. Donald Margolis's mistake in air traffic control led to the collision of two airplanes. If Walter had saved Jane, this accident might not have happened. Donald Margolis's psychological breakdown showed how Walter's selfishness could have huge consequences. Even after this, Walter did not feel guilty because he felt he had no direct responsibility. All he could think about was that Jane had to die, and he stood by his decision. Chapter 3. Cartel Wars and Crime. Cuarta Juarez Cartel. Cause of death: Gus Fring's poisoning plot and Walter White's indirect involvement in the mass extermination of Don Eladio and senior cartel members. Most cartel members were killed as a result of an assassination involving poisoned tequila. Walter's role: in Gus Fring's plan to destroy the cartel, Walter assisted with meth production. This facilitated the killing of Don Eladio's men. Walter saw himself only as a producer in his collaboration with Gus Fring, but the killing of cartel members drove him deeper into the criminal underworld. For Walter White, the Juarez cartel was a critical turning point in the development of his Heisenberg identity. This is because it transformed Walter's identity, initially seen as a simple producer, into a strategic one, taking an active role in the collapse of the cartel. His collaboration with Gus Fring marked the beginning of a process that blurred Walter's moral boundaries and turned him into a more powerful, calculating character in the criminal world. 5. Hector Salamanca and Gus Fring. Cause of death: Walter White killed Gus Fring via Hector Salamanca's wheelchair bomb. Walter's role: he used Hector as an explosive trap to get rid of Gus. This action became one of Walter's most critical turning points in the Breaking Bad series. By destroying a powerful and dangerous rival like Gus Fring, he guaranteed his supremacy in the drug empire and his chances of survival. With this move, we can say that Walter has fully achieved his Heisenberg identity. It is also the event that completes the transformation from Walter White, who still retains his conscience. to Heisenberg, who has completely lost his moral boundaries. Chapter 4. Desperate Choices and Dark Paths. 6. Drew Sharp, the kid with the bike. Cause of death: killed for witnessing a train robbery. Walter's role: Drew Sharp was an innocent boy who saw the robbery. Todd killed him with Walter's connivance. This is one of the most dramatic turning points in Walter's moral decline. The fact that he condoned the death of an innocent child showed that he had become a completely dark character. The death of Drew Sharp shows that Walter's Heisenberg identity has completely lost all human values and has reached a point where he is willing to accept any form of crime. Siedma Andrea Cantillo. Cause of death: execution by neo-Nazis. Walter's role: Andrea was killed by the gang who wanted to hold Jesse captive and manipulate him. Andrea's death is the most painful consequence of Walter's betrayal of Jesse. This murder reveals the devastating impact of Walter's manipulative and destructive actions on Jesse's life. As a result of Walter's decisions, an innocent person lost his life, and Jesse's pain and despair turned into a deep trauma. 8. Hank Schrader and Steve Gomez. Cause of death: they lost their lives in an armed ambush. Hank and Gomez were killed in a shootout, ambushed by a neo-Nazi gang. Hank's death is one of Walter's biggest breaking points. The fact that he indirectly caused the death of his own brother-in-law and DEA agent Hank is the most striking evidence of Walter's complete destruction of family ties and human values. This event shows that his journey into the world of crime has reached a point of no return. For Walter, there are no more family ties. His ambition for power and success overtakes his family. Chapter 5. The Final Showdown and the Final Blow. 9. Neo-Nazi Gang. Cause of death: gunfight and automatic machine gun attack. Wanting to save Jesse and get revenge, Walter set a deadly ambush against the neo-Nazi gang. This ambush was a marvel of engineering. His automatic machine gun system killed most of the gang. Walter executed his last and most complex plan against the neo-Nazis, saving Jesse and eliminating his enemies. However, in the course of this plan, he also caused his own death. It was both his final victory and his final downfall. Conclusion and total death toll. It is impossible to calculate the total number of people Walter White indirectly caused to die. Some important estimates can be made from the deaths described in the video. To summarize briefly: plane crash, Wayfarer 515, 167 people, Jane Margolis, 1 person, Juarez cartel, at least 10 people, Drew Sharp, 1 person, Andrea Cantillo, 1 person, DEA agents, 2 people, neo-Nazis and gangs, at least 20 people. Meth addicts and street crimes, thousands. Estimated total, at least 200 people. Thousands who died on the streets, along with meth addicts. Walter White's story is not only a question of individual morality, but also a social tragedy. The decisions he made, the ripples he created in the criminal world, and the deadly consequences made him one of the most complex characters in the history of television. Do you think Walter is entirely responsible for all these deaths? Or were some of them beyond his control? I would like to see your answers in the comments. See you in the next video.